Guys, it's the Torodor rotation now, with the new rotation of Void Rift, and I figured I would just go through it on Nightmare and kind of help you guys out. I'm gonna try really hard to make this an achievable sort of thing, so that you guys can copy it. So I'm gonna try my best not to use overpowered heroes if I can help it. And I'm also not going to be using the best gear ever, because my gear isn't that good. Let's be honest. If you're doing Nightmare, your gear should be about my level. Anyways, it's an esotericist boost. So basically Boreas, like only Boreas, who I will try not to use, will be good. But anyways, for this first fight, I like to, you want to bring a couple things. Just disclaimer for this entire first phase. I might do 3 videos starting with the first phase, obviously. For this first phase, when you're doing it in Nightmare, you really need to have 2 tanks. You want to have whichever ones you just have. You could use Baron and Olog. I use that for the first clear, but I'm going to use Procure too, just because I feel like it. And then you want to bring a healer. I want to bring Vortex, but I think Hollow might be good. And then you want to bring, generally I like to bring Decimus, actually, for the stage, just because there's a lot of suicide bugs that can get in the way, and you don't want to have to deal with those. And then I could probably bring another healer, honestly, and then because we're using Hollow for Rage Regen, I don't need to bring as much DPS, but you could bring more DPS too. And then I might bring Greed, and then I might bring, I guess I could bring Vierna. I don't think Vierna is an overpowered option anymore. And then maybe Hex for single target. You want magic damage for this stage primarily, because they have a lot of high magic defense. So just keep that in mind. I do need to regear Greed a little bit. I'm going to put something better on him, like Ancient Wrath, which should be pretty good, and then I should be able to swap this on. Maybe I should have regeared earlier instead of keeping you guys with me for it, but it's okay. Or at least I hope it's okay. Anyways, Unfortunate Skull for Vienna. Tier Twilight is better. Not a big deal. Hex has a random, pretty bad Soulbound Arcana set, but should be fine. Anyways, so what we want to do first, generally, is you want to put down your tanks. I'll put Procure, but just keep in mind you can replace him with Baron, and it should be pretty much the same. And then I will be putting Olag at the bottom a little bit later. But for now, what you could do is you could just kind of put Decimus there whenever the suicide bugs come. You don't really need to for the first one, but you do for the second one for the top and the second one for the bottom, because they will send out 2 and your tanks will die. I find that a really well built Olog like mine can actually tank it, so that's why we aren't using Decimus for the bottom, so just keep that in mind. As you can see there, the shield tanks it really well, so 2 people will get it through. Also, a quick thing, someone who's really good for this stage is Abomination. For Nightmare, I don't think he works anywhere near as well, but he does have the unique ability to not be targeted by the stones if you're using 2 DPS. So that's very nice, and will definitely help you out. Greed can cover the top, I'm pretty sure. And then we should be able to use Hex. Maybe I'll do Vierna actually, because we need more AoE than we need single target. And if you place anything on the bottom, they will die to the suicide bombs. Speaking of, I really need to put Decimus down, just so that he can soak up that damage, and then we pull him back. And I will be Vortex ulting just to make sure Oleg doesn't die, which he does, unfortunately. So we might actually struggle a little bit. This might be a loss, but maybe we can use Decimus to salvage something. We should be hopefully okay. I think Hex might be strong enough to where he could take this guy down, but I'm not entirely sure. And barely take it down. Ideally, you would manage your Olog a bit better and you wouldn't die, but he did. But it's salvageable once again. At the top, I will be using Decimus again, mostly because if we let those bugs through, we'll blow up our greed. And now we tank the bottom because Olog is very tanky, and I'm going to pop Brokir's shield just to survive. Greed is not doing as much damage as I would like him to do, so we might actually lose, but if you bring another DPS, like another single target, you will not have these issues. But Brokir should be strong enough on his own in order to tank this sort of thing. We get to execute with Vierna, and then I will put Decimus there just to kind of help out a little bit. And we're going to do our best to survive from the top, just popping our ults, staying alive as well as you can. And I will put Hex at the top just because I do recognize that he is struggling a little bit. And we're just going to keep going. If I waited a bit longer, Vierna will actually execute that guy, but it's okay. We're able to kill this thing, and now we just need to basically deal with the bottom. Maybe I shouldn't have fooled Hex. Whoops. Yeah, I shouldn't have. That's on me. Hopefully Greed can actually finish them off. My Greed is A5. He's far better at A5, so just keep that in mind. But, I mean, he's a free unit, so just replace him with any AoE mage you have. Especially for this rotation, if you have Boreas, use Boreas. Boreas will delete everything in sight. As you can see, our AoE, and then our single target was just for the Rippers mostly. And you just want your tanks, your healers, and just the normal stuff. Though Decimus is very good because only really Olog can tank that well. I mean, other things can too, but predominantly Olog. This is the team I've assembled. I was struggling a little bit with the timing and my tanks and stuff. And the rocks were a bit of an issue. I was using Brokir. You could use Baron. You still can, but I decided to go with Abomination with my Brokir gear. So basically high HP. We're trying to keep him alive. Once again, 2 healers is very important. And then I will be using 2 AoE mages for the bottom because Greed and Nocturne were not cutting it at all. Hex and Vierna for a different side, and then Olog will be very tanky, and then we have our 2 healers, and hopefully it should be okay. There are many ways to do this stage. 2 tanks, you could use probably 3 healers if you would like, but I think 2 healers is fine, so that when the first poison hits, we have Vortex ult for it. And then we will place Olog to bait out the rocks, because Olog can actually take the rocks fine. And for some reason the rocks are coming out earlier this time, so we might lose. So just keep that in mind. We should be good. I realize now that ideally you would put Olog before Vortex, and it would go a bit better, but I didn't do that unfortunately. Anyways, we do our DPS up top, and we're going to be doing pretty decent. We will wait a little bit and then Vierna ult. Ideally, we will be Vortex ulting, and then I will Hex ult just in case, just because I am stressed about the top. And then I will put Greed like this. We do need to put down Iona immediately. Although Medan is very nice to have, we do need DPS for the bottom. And we are struggling with staying alive a little bit, but hopefully we will be okay. The main issue is we need to be mindful of the block at the bottom, so just keep that in mind. I will be putting Medan like that, and I will be popping Iona ult, and hopefully we will be okay. Greed slows is very nice, his A5 is great. If you have Comet, Comet will absolutely delete the stage, and I will be Olog ulting to gain another block so that we are able to clear this. I am a little bit worried, but we should hopefully be okay with extra healing from Medan. I might need to cleanse this one, unless we're okay, which it looks like we are. Barely. You could cleanse with Medan if you needed. Of course, Midan died because she sucks, and we are struggling a little bit, but hopefully Iona and Greed can cover the bottom just fine. And we have Hex for the top. Abomination does a little bit of damage, although he has no DPS built on him right now. He's full tankiness. We should be okay. I'm only using Abomination to make it so that we do not have to deal with, oh my gosh, Midan dying might cause us to lose. No, we're good. Sorry. I use Abomination just so that we can bait out the stones to always go on Olag. But yeah. Anyways, I will be Vienna ulting because I am a little bit stressed right now and I am spamming everything because I don't want to lose this fight. I will be Iona ulting for the bottom, and then at the top we should be good with Hex and Vienna. At the bottom, just remember if the minions are going through, use Oleg ult and he will gain a block, so he will stop them a bit better. And you basically want to double DPS each side, and then just try to keep everything alive as best you can. But the poison is very strong in this stage, so if you want to put down like Midan earlier so that she gets her cleanse and all that good stuff, you should be good. But a well-built Vortex can basically cover everything almost just by himself, maybe with a bit of extra help. Anyways, we just kind of kill the boss, and this is pretty much a done deal. Pretty easy, honestly. Although this is definitely one of the harder fights, for me at least. Though the later fights can be difficult if you're missing single target damage. But I'll get to that in a second. Anyways, we win, and let's move on to the next one. Though, quick stats before moving on. Greed did a lot because AoE, Iona, AoE, Vienna, AoE. Hex just does a lot of damage. Abomination did like no damage because we were only using him to bait out the rocks. So post editing me here. I was struggling very hard on the stage, at least with the characters that I decided to pick, and so I will just be voiceovering this because I didn't commentate over it. But anyways, you gotta do Hex. Just for single target on the left. I used to do just Silas for the left, but this time I decided to do 2 DPS per side, sorry. Make sure to remember that the boss will always hit your last placed to make sure that that person won't get one shot. And you gotta be very mindful of the fish, and also you just gotta kind of be careful of the minions. There are a couple ways to do the stage. This is just how I like to do it. It was a bit of a struggle this week. This week's modifier is not too bad. It's just higher HP on the boss. You only need to beat the boss phases once or twice, as long as the last place is tanky enough to take the soul stone or like the extra stone shots or whatever. There I used Idril to deal with some of the minions, but you don't have to do it that way. It just makes it a bit easier. And you can also put some melee units on the bridge where the minions are coming from, and you won't really need to deal with them. The only reason why I don't like doing it that way is just because it can be very, very stressful with the fish that come by. They will kill your melee units, and it can be a bit rough. Anyways, this run I got really lucky with Idril. I used Dolores and Idril to kill the boss. You could place something above where I have Vienna, and you would be just fine, but whatever. Also, Dolores is very good for this stage. These units that are out right now have a lot of magic defense, so I would either need to bring 2 piercers to cover each side, or I could just Dolores boost through it because Dolores makes you so overpowered against everything. Something to keep in mind for this boss stage, or like just this stage in general, which, fun fact, is my least favorite stage of this this entire rotation, including all of the other phases. You just gotta keep in mind that your tanks have to be very tanky, and you have to be very mindful of their block. So I have a block artifact on each, and that makes it so I can tank 4 units. Olag's ultimate gives you another tank, another block, sorry, and it's just a good time. Also, this last shield that Calypso had on the boss, you could just completely ignore it. You do not need to break that whatsoever because she runs away and she won't come back. Just to keep in mind. But anyways, Dolores, great for damage amplification. I like using 2 DPS. You just gotta be careful that they don't die. I tried using Nocturne, and Nocturne was being a bastard, to put it simply. I don't think that's a swear word really, but whatever. Anyways, Nocturne's mean to me. He doesn't work, so I caved and I used Vienna. Anyways, it's not the hardest stage ever when you get it down, but I hate this stage. This stage is probably the hardest one in this phase, at least for me. So now we are on to the second to last stage before the Araka boss. This one you need a lot of single target for, or like stuff like that. And I'm just gonna go through it. I'm gonna try to make it somewhat accessible, but this stage can be a bit tough. So just keep that in mind. Each time the Ancient God's Messenger successfully summons a Seal Stone, increases her attack by 25%. That's very threatening, but you would already be depriving her of her Seal Stones, so it shouldn't be too big of a deal. So this is the team I will be using. I will be using Wrath for the bottom. I usually use Arrogance because he helped with the fish as well, but I'll be trying him out. Volca A1 just for the reduced time and also for something which I will show later. She doesn't need Invig, but I would recommend higher HP, which you will see in a minute. Hex for some single target. He's a terrible Soulbound Arcana set, actually really bad. Nocturne has a random Infernal Roar set on him. You just want Olog tanky. You want a healer. You want Vienna's is kind of a stand-in. You could swap her with anything, and then Idril is for some extra damage, and also to help deal with the fish, which can be a bit of an issue. Anyways, I like to do Hex first, followed by your ground unit. Wrath, I like Wrath because at A5 he will heal himself, so it just keeps him alive for a little while, otherwise he will die. Anyways, Idril next probably because she helps to deal with the fish very well. And then I will be using Nocturne, and this should go pretty well. Hopefully. Ideally. She's about to die. Instead of placing Nocturne, you could always place Vortex, or whatever healer you're using. I know Hull is maybe technically better, but it's not a big deal. Wrath is doing its thing. And then we will be placing Olog next. I will be Hex ulting. You do want to just deal with the shield whenever it comes up. Just keep it in mind, and also try to get as much damage as you can, just in general. I will let Hex do his last hit, and then I will be pulling him so that we have him for later. And then Nocturne, I will be waiting a little bit, and then I will ult. He has a long ult, so I could ult here, but if he has a shorter ult, you will have to wait a little bit longer, but it's not a big deal. Anyways, Idril's doing a great job dealing with these guys. I will be doing Vierna into just to help deal with that, but it probably won't do much. I should have pulled Nocturne earlier, but it's not a big deal. And then I will be doing Hex and then Volca. Part of the reason why we have Volca is so that Calypso will attack her instead. She will die to this guy that's coming up now, but it just gives you enough time to deal with the boss. Because you don't really want them to gain that shield, that like stone thing. Hex luckily has invisibility, so that's why he's really nice to have, and it's fine. Anyways, what we're going to do now is we're going to, since she's dealing no damage, and Olog is doing fine, Wrath is able to self-sustain down there, and Idril is dealing with the fish and getting healed, we can just kind of leave Calypso there. What I will be doing is I will be doing our single target and then Volca, just so that our single target doesn't instantly die, and we should be good. This is kind of it. I mean, Volca is really good for baiting the attention, so you can build up your single target damage, or your ultimate, I mean, and then you're able to do with the rest. Wrath is great on the bottom. He's in a broken set. He's doing great. Idril, I did put my Silas gear on, but she has like no attack, so that's why she's dealing no damage. Anyways, Volca will die once again, but it's okay. We've been doing pretty well. We're just going to rinse and repeat that sort of thing again, and I will actually Idril to help as well. Hex luckily can live a little bit, so he can at least trigger his ult and deal some damage. But as you can see, Calypso's kind of hard to hit, but like as long as your Olog is tanky enough, which he should be, you're completely fine. You're doing good. I don't really need most of these units out anymore, but it's whatever. I will be using Vierna just for a bit of damage there. And now we just win. Honestly, that's it. We just win. Volca will never die to the boss because the boss has no stones. If the boss does get a stone, you might be able to win still, but it kind of depends. But, I mean, that's the fight done. The fight before this was far, far harder than this fight is. Let's put it that way. Volca A1 just does really good for the stage because it lets you cycle out your boss damage, and we will have Idril to clean up the rest. And that's about it. Pretty easy. Not too tough. I will say the next fight can be a lot harder, but we should be good with that one too. Idril, tons of damage. She's just constantly attacking, and then you cycle in your single targets. All that good stuff. Imani works great too, by the way. We're on the boss stage, the Araka boss. I don't know if it's Araka or Arachna. Some people say Arachna. Anyways, so my team, I am using Silas, but purely for damage to the very, very tanky mobs that come later. He will not be used in any other way, just for that. So I barely even really use him. Him and Greed are going to be cycled in and out, just for a little bit of damage if I need them, but I don't have enough slots to actually place them without them dying. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, though, I'm running Olag on the right because the right tends to be more threatening. There's more of the mobs, so I like to have Olag, who I consider more tanky for the stage, at least for me. And then I put Hex on the left. I put Procure there specifically, so he only hits Medan and Vortex when I place him in a second, just so that Hex will survive, Vierna will survive. And I know I could probably adjust a little bit of the placements, but I think this is fine. Anyways, once again, not going to really be placing Greed, not going to be placing Silas for very long, and I'm using Hex to clear out these minions, but he's not the best option, and he's not really needed. I should have put Greed, actually no, I shouldn't have put Greed, sorry. Apart from that, the Ripper on the right is going to do massive damage, but hopefully Vortex will be okay. I'm going to ult with Silas just to deal with the mob. Those elite mobs that Silas is bursting down have a lot more HP and defense this time around, so it might be a lot more difficult to deal with them. So just keep that in mind. After you're done with them, you can take them back, and you should be good. I should have probably Medan ulted, but if you Vortex ult and they're built well enough, you should be good. As you can see, Olag lived. I should have put Greed down around now, just to help Vierna out, but I had an ult, so I didn't really need to. As you can see, kills everything pretty fast, because Vierna's execute is actually really nice. But I did end up placing Greed here. Greed will actually hit the right side, as long as there is a big enemy, which there was, so he probably would have been hitting over there, even though his range doesn't technically go to that tile. But I will be placing Silas down fairly soon. I'm waiting for the rocks to show, just to make sure that I know when to put him down and where to put him down. The Greed is barely doing anything, but he's helping a little bit. I can no longer place Silas because there's the rocks, so I will be saving him. And Hex does very good damage to the Ripper. The boss is about to start walking down, which can be a little bit stressful, but I will just be popping Vortex ult, and I have Medan ult for when we get poisoned. That's why I have Medan primarily, her tankiness and her cleanse. Hex still is poisoned, I'm pretty sure, but I don't think it matters, so not a big deal. Hex will be doing some boss damage. Silas will get his ultimate pretty soon to deal with the thing behind him, because the hitbox of the thing behind him is so big that he's able to shoot them. And then also he will be bursting down the boss. You don't need to burst down the boss like this. You could leave the boss a little bit longer. You just got to manage your healing. And I would also get rid of your units on the right, just when they no longer have anything to deal with, so that your healers have less of a strain when the poison comes out. But we deal with the rest, and we're done. This is kind of, you just gotta tweak your placement a little bit. Make sure you have 2 tanks. You can replace Procure with Baron once again, and just kind of try to find out what works for you. As you can see, Vierna does a lot of damage because of her execute. Hex, Silas, just for some burst. You could use anything else. You could use Nocturne, you could use Imani, you can use anything. Imani's probably better, not because of her damage, but because she's faster to place like to cycle because of her passive or her awakening or whatever. But it's not important. Although we don't get a full ancient anymore, we only get 2 ancients per Void Rift, and we get the new exclusive mythical thing. I'm just going to do a 10 pull of normal ones here because it's an AMR event, and I'm going to sign off. Part 3, I will be opening my exclusive artifact things. Anyways, hope you enjoyed. Bye bye.